Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome in to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. I'm Mark Elliott. Rick, of course, is a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years of experience in the financial industry. And this show, even though it's been around for a long time, we're kind of tweaking it a little bit. We're going to have fun. We're going to have conversation here about things that you need to know about retirement. This show will talk about the fun, the great side of retirement, things that we can't wait to do, those bucket list items and all of that. But we'll also talk about the challenging side of retirement. You think of one of those like longevity. Could be the greatest thing ever, living a long time, but it also could be the bad thing. You have Alzheimer's, you're in a facility for 10, 12 years, you don't even know you're there. That would not be so positive, right? So there's good and bad about everything, and certainly retirement is that, but it's really important to have a plan. And you think about it. Where are you on that road to retirement? Can I retire, Rick? Well, when can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last as long as I need it to, as long as we need it to? Will my loved ones be okay if something happens to me? Those are really big questions, and those are the questions that Rick and the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group can help you answer. But at the end of the day, really what you want to know is, if I or we retire, will I or we be okay? That's really what you want to know. If you'd like to learn more about Rick and the team at Safeguard, go to the website. A lot of great information there. It tells you where the offices are. 5 different offices in California. Safeguardinvestment.com. Safeguardinvestment.com. Rick, of course, at the main corporate headquarters right here in Corona. Glad you're with us today. You can always give the team a call with questions. 800-700-1980. No cost, no obligation, no pressure for this. 800-700-1980. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Good. Thanks, Mark. Doing really good today.
You know, we're going to talk a little bit about you today. It's probably not your favorite subject, but it's something I think, especially when you're in the financial world, there are so many different types of financial advisors out there. Some are helping us, right out of college. Hey, here's how you can get started. Put some money away here or there. Then you have the accumulation people, the brokers that can certainly help you grow your money. But you're in the retirement planning world. So I think there's a lot of different advisors out there, and I think we need to talk about how you differentiate maybe from the majority of advisors, because retirement planners, what would you say, 20% of advisors in the country, 10% are actually in the retirement planning world?
Yeah, probably so. Maybe even less than that truly specialize in this area the way we do.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on that as well. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to find out a little bit more about Rick. How did he get into this position? I don't know, when he was in, 7th grade, his goal was I really want to help people retire the right way. So that's where we're starting, talking about your background and then how you got into this business.
Yeah, well, I can definitely tell you at 7 years old, I wasn't thinking about people retiring. But it's interesting how I did get in the business. And I guess, when I was younger as a kid, I should say I was more entrepreneurialistic. And I remember, me and my friends, we used to go door to door selling all kinds of things. We were always looking for things on how to make money, or whether it be selling newspapers. I remember as a kid going to Rockaway Beach every day. My nephew and I, we'd go to a warehouse and buy a bunch of sodas wholesale price and go sell them on the beach with an ice chest, walking up and down the beach selling. So I was always very entrepreneurialistic. And later on, when it came time to go into college, of course, I wanted to get my degree in business. I wasn't sure what direction it was going to lead, whether I was just going to open up some sort of business on my own. Was I going to work for a corporation? But while I was going to college, I coincidentally landed a job working for an estate planning company. And that's where I kind of started getting my foot in the door. And, working for that company, they had, limited products, but they kind of introduced me into the world of estate planning, retirement planning. And as I grew into the business, I started working for other companies, even an investment banking firm, down in San Diego. And each company that I worked for, I took something, you get new information,
Sure.
You learn a little bit more, you learn more and more and more. So over time, I guess the big challenge is that when somebody's new in the industry, all you know is what that firm teaches you. And many firms, when you go to work for a specific firm or a specific institution, they're going to have a certain amount of products that they offer, and they train their guys to sell those products. They don't necessarily teach them how to do true planning. So that was the difference that I started to learn as I went from different companies, started learning more in the industry, going to different seminars. And then, of course, Reed Aberdeen and Eddie Soda, at the time, we worked together, and we became friends, and we worked at different companies together, and we shared ideas, and we started learning more and more and realized, hey, wait a minute. There are a vast amount of services and products and things out there that would truly allow you to fine tune your investment advice specifically to the client's needs, as opposed to working for one specific institution that says, okay, here's your products. This is, the advantages, disadvantages, go sell these. So as we were learning, we decided to go out on our own. And this was probably back in, I want to say 2000. We were partnered up prior to 2008, but Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, where we started adding in all the other additional services, was back in 2008, where we added in, where we incorporated tax planning. We incorporated trust and will planning, because I guess the biggest takeaway here is this, and this is what we've learned. Any investment advice somebody gives you, they could say, hey, look, you need to go into this particular fund, or here's this great investment. Here's some charts and graphs of this performance. That investment advice could have a positive or negative impact on your taxes, your trust and will planning, maybe your legacy planning, how your Social Security or how your pensions are taxed. So this is where we decided, hey, we wanted to incorporate the big picture, that holistic approach, and we teamed up to provide that to our clients. So this way we can come up with a true plan that's designed specifically for them. And since we have no allegiance to any institution, we can get our clients best of breed that's out there. So the best example I can give you, just to keep it simple, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, Rick, you know what? I need a CD. Well, whether it's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Navy Federal Credit, we can shop it around. We get, we work for the client, not for the institution. But if you walk directly into Bank of America and say, hey, listen, you talk to a stockbroker or whoever and say, hey, look, I need a CD. What are the chances of him telling you, hey, if you go across the street to Farmers and Merchants, they got one paying a half a point better. Same thing with, if I go into some of these other institutions. So, or if I'm just looking for insurance, if I walk into one insurance company, they're going to only offer you their products. So this is where we kind of wanted to separate ourselves and be able to create a plan that fits our clients more like a glove, rather than just kind of putting them into a box. Because if I give an advisor just one product, and just say, hey, he's got a license where he can just offer mutual funds, or let's just say variable annuities. I'm not saying always, but if you're a circle and they're a square, they're going to try to make those two things fit.
Sure. You can, hey, here's a hammer, go build a house.
Right.
You don't get anything else, you got only the hammer. So when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's kind of the idea. So the idea is that the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group can help you in a lot of different areas, right? Income planning, investment strategies, tax-efficient planning, which we'll certainly get into down the road, because that's one of the biggest challenges for today's retirees. Healthcare, long-term care, huge challenge as well. And then legacy planning that Rick's really kind of got started in the business. Social Security, Medicare, there's a lot of decisions going on here. So how did you and Reed and Eddie, when we kicked off Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, said, hey, we've worked together for a while, we're pretty compatible. There's a lot of different types, as you knew from your previous experience, of advisors. How did you decide to kind of focus on that retirement planning world?
Well, you got to specialize in something. And what we realized was this: with all the regulations out there and all the different products and all the different services, there's some companies that'll work, with somebody that's anywhere from 20 years old all the way up to, 90 years old, whatever. You go to a doctor, and you got a knee issue, you want to go to a guy that specializes in knees. There's a reason why you go to a specialist. Same thing when it comes to your retirement planning. There's a lot that goes into it. Staying on top of Social Security and pensions and the windfall and, the different products and how they associate with, your trust and will planning. That's a specialty that requires a lot of knowledge and expertise. So we figured if we want to be the best at something, we better figure out what our market is and what we want to specialize in, so that way we can be the best at that rather than just being, again, a generalist and practicing on people. So that's kind of why we decided, hey, let's focus on an area and let's specialize at that and be the best at what we do.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that a little bit when we come back. We're going to talk about Rick's family, too, as well. We're trying to get to know Rick Rivera a little bit better today on the Big Picture Retirement Show, so we're going to get into that. But again, if you have questions, right, where am I on that road to retirement? Can I retire? Well, when can I? Will my family be okay if something happens to me? One of the big concerns today certainly is, will my money last as long as I need it to? We really want to know, if we retire, are we going to be okay? So Rick and Reed and Eddie, starting Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, 15 years ago, it was like, I wonder if there's going to be 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day and 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. That might be a good time to get in the retirement world. Maybe. They probably didn't even think that way. But that's how it is. Retirement is a challenge, especially if you go it on your own. So we're trying to give you some insight into the Safeguard team, Rick Rivera, today. We're talking more about it when we come back. But we're going to get into also, how do you get a second opinion if you really like your advisor? Is that really the number one key? We're going to talk about that as well. But if you want to sit down and chat with the team or just have a quick phone call, 15-minute phone call with the team, say, here's my question or my concern. What do you think? The team is happy to do that. 800-700-1980. There is no cost for this. 800-700-1980 is the number. That's 800-700-1980. More with Rick Rivera right here on the Big Picture Retirement Show right after this.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Rick and Reed Abedin and Eddie Soda started the company about 15 years ago, a little over 15 years ago, actually. You can find out more, safeguardinvestment.com. That's the website, safeguardinvestment.com. A lot of great information there. You can find out where the offices are throughout California. The headquarters where Rick is and Reed, that is Corona. That's where they're located, but there's 4 other locations. And they can also help you in some other places where they don't even really have an office. So they're here to help if you need some guidance when it comes to where you are on that road to retirement. Any questions or concerns that come up from listening to this show or just happen in your everyday life or conversation with your spouse, we need to think a little bit more about this retirement thing. Call the team at Safeguard. They're here to help. 800-700-1980. There's no cost to chat with the team. 800-700-1980. We're talking about so many different advisors. And so we know that Safeguard Investment Advisory Group is really focused on the retiree. Income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare. It's all in there. That's a lot of moving pieces. But we also know that the accumulation phase, our working years, is different than our distribution phase, our retirement years. So you guys are really focused on the distribution side, but we still know we need growth, right? So they kind of go hand in hand. So my question is, I think one of the hardest things for people to maybe, even actually seek help, because we know that it's got to be maximum 20% of people in America have an actual written retirement plan. Most are doing it on their own. Hey, boy, Rick, look how I've done my 401k since March of 2009. It's really done well. I mean, we kind of get overconfident sometimes when the markets go well and our 401k does well and we're not really doing anything. And then they think they can actually, do retirement planning on their own. That might be one of the bigger misconceptions out here, I think.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing, too, is we have to put things in context. Your 401k may be doing well, but compared to what? How is it doing well in what context? And let me give you the best example of what I see all the time that happens when people come in to see me for the first time, Mark. Sometimes people will come into my office and they'll say, they're patting themselves on the back and they're like, you know what, I read on the internet, that you got to save $1 million by the time you retire, and they're patting themselves on the back. And then when we boil everything down and we figure out the income and expenses and they tell me, hey, listen, I need 10 grand a month to live on, I might have to tell them, listen, this money ain't going to last. But then I get somebody else that, maybe they didn't save as much. They read on the internet again or got some general information that you got to save $1 million by the time you retire, whatever the number is, that's out there floating around at the time. and maybe they only saved 300 grand, but they did wonderful job at not having it, keeping expenses low, and their pensions and Social Security are 8 grand a month and their bills are only 3,000 a month. I'm like, listen, you don't need to cry. You're going to be okay. This money that you have saved right now, here's how we can make it work for you moving forward now. And since you really don't need it to live on at this point. So really, when it comes to saving and your 401ks and all the rest of it, we got to have a goal. We have to have a plan and make sure that we're doing everything in the proper context. Just because some general rule of thumb says you should save 10% of your paycheck or whatever the number is, doesn't mean that for you, based upon your objectives, your goals, your situation, 10% is right for you. Maybe you need to do 20. Maybe for some people, 8% is just fine. So that's where a good planner will come in and really fine tune your plan and put it in context for your situation.
And I think that's the key. At Safeguard, whether Rick sits down with an individual or sits down with a widow or widower or a divorcee or a married couple, right? Everybody's situation is unique to them. And that's what Rick really needs to kind of pull out of you. What are you going to do? How are you going to spend your time? What are your hopes and dreams, your bucket list items? Let's see if we can make it work, because it isn't about how much money you have. We all probably do. Remember those commercials, Rick? Was it ING, I think? Oh, that's your number? Oh, yeah, that's what they tell me. That's my number, right? Yeah. We probably all do have a number, and that number, like you were talking about, the $1 million, might be not near enough and might be more than enough, because everybody's situation is unique to them. If you want to find out where you are, what you need to be able to retire, can you? When can I? 800-700-1980 is the number, 800-700-1980. I told people we're going to hear about your family a little bit, so I want to make sure we do that. And then I might have a question before we get out of here today about just a little follow-up about the second opinion type situation. But you and your wife, Shauna, 2 kids, Nico's 30, Crystal's 34. She's got 3 kids, so your granddad.
Yeah.
Talk us through the family, because we know there are things that you like to do. It's not work all the time. And you don't want your clients, you want them to enjoy their retirement. You want to enjoy your life too, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And, here's the thing. My situation is probably a little bit different than most. I'm 53. Obviously, having a daughter that's 34 and a son 30, you can just do the math and know that my wife and I started probably a little bit earlier than we should have. And but on the other side of the equation, it allowed us to be empty nesters real early.
Right.
So now, the kids are out on their own. They're doing great. And, my wife and I, as what we like to do is, we do have an Airstream, and, our thing is we love camping. And kind of short story how we got into it. I just remember as a kid, my parents taking me camping in upstate New York all the time. And I remember the smell of fresh bacon in the morning. And my wife and I talked about getting an Airstream, and we decided, hey, let's try it out first. So we went and stayed at these places called auto camps, where they actually have different areas where you can actually rent an Airstream and stay in a specific area, whether it's Russian River or Santa Barbara or these different areas. So we did that a few times, really enjoyed it, and then decided, yeah, you know what, let's go ahead and get one. So we got an Airstream, and it's kind of our hobby or our way to unwind. Every December, her and I spend 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, just traveling the coast of California. We'll hit Cambria, Monterey, Paso Robles, all those different areas all along the coast, all the way up to Jenner and back. And it's just something that we enjoy and allows us to get, I guess, give us that zen.
Yeah, you've got California is a beautiful state with mountains, with ocean, everything in between. You've got a lot of different temperatures, obviously. So it's really cool. I think that's kind of a neat thing that you and Shauna do. Go do your travel, kind of get away from it all. Back to nature. You love to fish, you can do that. You like to scuba dive, you can do that. So I think that's really cool. And, being an empty nester at a younger age and a grandparent at 53, that's kind of a cool thing too, because you have more time to enjoy the grandkids. Maybe that's I mean, mine. I have one daughter. She's 22. At 17, a senior in high school, paralyzed in a car wreck. Terrible situation. But she's doing better. I mean, she's 4 years after the fact, and my friend is a spinal cord doctor, said, hey, it's 10 years before a paraplegic actually gets a total handle on their situation. So she's 40% of the way there, but she's made strides. She's doing better. So things can happen and change in a heartbeat. But I was 41 when she was born. See, so I was late to the game. So we're on both sides of that. I wanted to finish up with this because I think it's so interesting. that because everybody's situation is unique to them. But I think a lot of people are a little scared. Ooh, Rick's going to tell me I can't retire, and I don't want to hear that. Maybe I'm going to get bad news. I don't want to go to the doctor, because we all know people that don't want to go to the doctor when if they'd have gone to the doctor, might have been ahead of the game, right? Might have been in a better position. So that second opinion, and for a lot of people, it would probably be a first opinion. How do they get over the unsure? Because if we're unsure about things, we tend to do nothing. How do we get them to give you a call, 800-700-1980, and not be scared of the whole situation? Nothing else, they're going to come out with real truth about where they are on the road to retirement.
Yeah, we can make it very easy. If you give us a call, and you can even ask to speak to me directly, I'll be happy to give you an hour of my time. Listen, my partners and I, we've been doing this for over 2 decades. So I can tell you within 45 minutes, I can give you 2 ideas that will enhance whatever it is that you've been doing. And, during that consultation, you can, there's no charge, no obligation, but what you can do is you can ask me any questions that you have as, resulting in your situation, whatever questions you have about your scenario. And if you'd like, I can even ask you some questions, get an idea of your overall scenario, and then I can give you specific recommendations. I'll know within 45 minutes if we can actually give you some good advice that will enhance what it is you're doing, whether it's your taxes, your trust and will planning, the investments. Maybe some of you out there are in the windfall situation because of your pensions. You're like, hey, Rick, how am I going to minimize the taxes on my pensions? And how's this going to affect my Social Security because I'm under windfall? Some of you out there might be working where you got a pension and you're like, should I take the lump sum or should I get the monthly benefits? I hear pros and cons of both. We can help you with all of that. So that way you can at least make a decision and feel good that you're making a decision based on education, not some random general information you may read on the internet.
Because I would think that most of us would like to have a little clarity. We don't want to go really, and most of us do go into retirement really with the thought of, I think I've done enough. I think we're going to be okay. I hope we're going to be okay. And you don't really know. Why not sit down with a retirement planning team like Safeguard Investment Advisory Group and Rick Rivera? The team is here to help you, and it's all about you and your situation. How can they enhance any part of that? How can they make it maybe a little bit better? But one thing you're going to find out, if you take advantage and talk with the team at Safeguard at 800-700-1980, there's no cost, no obligation for this, 800-700-1980, you're going to know more about your situation. That can be invaluable, I would think. And then that doesn't mean you're going to be a client. Maybe you will be. Don't know. The team is here to help. They just don't know if they can help you until you reach out. Again, that number is 800-700-1980 to chat with Rick Rivera and the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Rick, enjoyed your time today. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week.
Same to you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.